Hi, I'm Dr. Adam Fraser and welcome to the AIA Be Well program, which focuses on improving your well-being. Now this video fits into Module 1, which is about replenish, how do we energize ourselves, and it's part A of Module 1. And what we're going to talk about in this video is how do we make recovery a habit and also the science of sleep. Now it seems like burnout is our natural state today and we're just going so flat out, and I think Will Ferrell said it best. He said, before you marry a person, you should first make them use a computer with slow internet to find out who they really are. Because it seems like we're just going a million miles an hour. Now where I learned about preventing burnout was at the Institute of Sport. So when I was working down there, what we used to do with athletes is just train them really hard, and when they showed signs of burnout, we'd back off a little bit. But it was kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back approach. And we did this research project to look at how could we improve that. And what we discovered is the key to preventing burnout is short, regular, but consistent bursts of recovery. So rather than train them really hard and then give them big breaks, the key to preventing burnout was short, regular, consistent breaks. Then what we did is we took this research with athletes and applied it to business people. And we actually found that there is a perfect formula to preventing burnout. Now, it revolves around a series of things. The first thing is that every day you must do something that relaxes you. So what do you do each day that relaxes you? So what this is, well, it depends on you personally, what relaxes you. It might be a meditation app for 7-10 minutes. It might be exercise, but it's something that turns your nervous system off and completely relaxes you and calms you. Now what we found is that it doesn't sound like much because you only need to do sort of 5 or 10 minutes every day, but the accumulation of that has a massive impact. So the first part of preventing burnout is every day do something that relaxes you and turns you off. Reading a fiction book of a nighttime with relaxing music, whatever it is. The second layer is every week do something that juices you. Now that might sound a little bit funky, but what I mean by juices you is makes you feel alive, puts stuff back in. The thing about the world today is we give so much. We give to our family, our leader, our peers, customers, like we're giving so much energy out. What do we do to put stuff back in? Now that's very personal, but some people said, you know what, getting a massage once a week, or you know, socializing on the weekend, or sleeping in, whatever it is, or like a hobby. You know, one woman was talking about, I sing in a choir once a week and it just makes me feel alive. So that's the second layer. The third layer, and this is going to freak you out, is every month have a day of no responsibility. And what I mean by this is once a month you have a day where you're not responsible for another human being, you don't have an agenda, you got nothing to do, and you just do whatever you please. There's no pressure, there's no expectation. Now, most people that hear this for the first time, it freaks them out, particularly if you're a woman. There's a gender bias. In our research, we said to men, you should do this once a month. And they're like, that's a great idea. But most women just went, oh my gosh, I can't do that. And what it came down to is they went to logistics and I got kids and I got this, but what it came down to was self-worth. They went, that's selfish. I can't do that for myself. But this thing is critical. We've been doing a research project with school principals, and what we've shown is this thing just makes such a big difference. Huge impact. So once a month, obviously it's going to be on a weekend, it's going to depend on your situation, but take that time to have that day of no responsibility. So important. All right, the other thing we also found is that every quarter, so 3 times a year, you have a long weekend. You know, you have an extra day off to just have a mini little holiday. And then lastly, of course, you've got to have the annual holiday where you have that big break. What we found is that this formula kills burnout. Like when you do it consistently, this stops burnout from occurring. We've done it over and over again with different types of executives and people. However, what's most interesting is it's this stuff that makes the biggest difference. It's the daily, it's the weekly, it's the monthly. It's great to have this, but this part of the model is where you get your biggest bang for the buck. Starting to include recovery as something you do every day, every week, every month. So that's the first piece of this video, is start to look at making recovery a habit. And in your action plan at the end of this video, start to look at what you're going to do at each of these levels. But this is gold, do it. All right, now the second part, which if my sheet of paper can stay up, is what we're going to talk about is sleep. So I'm going to give you 10 tips to improve your quality of sleep. Tip number 1 is to get regular. Now this has nothing to do with fibre, this is about your bedtime. And what you want to aim for is to have the same bedtime and wake up time every single day. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been jet lagged? If you have, what you know is it feels terrible. Now the reason for your jet lag is that your body clock, your circadian rhythm, and the external world are out of sync. So you have this rhythm that's about 24 hours. Controls when you're awake and when you're asleep. When you're jet lagged, this thing is out of sync. The circadian rhythm loves to stay in a set pattern. It loves to have the same bedtime and wake up time. Now the problem is often on the weekend we stay up late or we sleep in. So what we do is actually effectively push our circadian rhythm forward. We mess it up. We wake up on Monday morning and we feel terrible. This is the reason why the peak time for heart attacks is between 6 and 9 a.m. on a Monday morning. Messes you up. Have you ever woken up on a Saturday morning, realised it's a weekend, gone back to sleep, but woke up feeling worse than if you got up at your normal bedtime? Yeah, because what we need is this set pattern. Now, if you have a big night, we'll talk about that in a moment, but if you're going to sleep in maybe an hour past your normal bedtime, normal wake up time, but don't mess with this rhythm. It likes to stay in a set pattern. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to go to bed early to catch up on sleep. So most people, if they've had a big night, will sleep in the next day, but the problem is the amount of deep sleep you get as the night goes on gets less and less. Deep sleep is what makes you feel good or rejuvenates you. The most amount of deep sleep comes before midnight. So if you want to catch up on sleep, don't sleep in. Go to bed early the next night. So that is tip number 2. Go to bed early. Tip number 3 is don't be hot in bed. Now there's an obvious joke there, but what we're talking about here is temperature. Is it easier to sleep in summer or winter? Winter. Because in summer your body temperature is higher, it's hot, it's sticky, and when your temperature rises, it's really hard to sleep. So the tip here is to keep your room cool of a night time. It's better to have warm covers and a cool room, never heat your room of a night time. You know, it's really crucial to try and keep your body temperature down of a night time. Tip number 4 is have a wind down routine before bed. The thing about with kids is how do you get them to sleep? You have a bath, you read them a story, you dim the lights, you wind things down. There's a process. Because when you have a routine, your body starts to go, oh, okay, we're going to bed, let's get ourselves ready, let's secrete this, let's do that. But most people are, doing work or on screens or, aren't winding down before bed. So start to think about a wind down routine. And within this, maybe it's reading a book or dimming the lights or stop using screens, but have some sort of process about an hour or half an hour before bed to start to wind you down so you get to bed easier. Tip number 5 is to avoid stimulants. Now, the obvious one is coffee. Coffee is good, you don't have to give up coffee, but the thing about coffee is it has a half-life. The caffeine has a half-life. And if you have caffeine after about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it is going to affect your sleep. So if you're going to have coffee, which is great, have it earlier in the day. After about 2 o'clock, cut it out. Tip number 6 is to dim the lights. One of the things about the brain is that when you have darkness on your eyes, your brain secretes melatonin. That is your sleep drug. It helps you get to sleep and stay asleep. When you have light on your eyes, cuts that production out. If you've ever been camping, you know that you fall asleep at about 6:30 or 7 o'clock because of the darkness. So as you're getting closer to bed, start to dim the lights. And the problem with phones and tablets and computers is they exhibit a blue light which really affects melatonin in a bad way. So as you're getting closer to bed, start to dim the lights and cut out the screens. Tip number 7 is to drink up, and we're not talking about alcohol here, we're talking about water. What you want to do is be hydrated during the day, helps you sleep. Tip number 8 is to move it or lose it. One things we know is strenuous exercise helps you sleep deeper. Exercising in the day helps you get to sleep far better. Now, tip number 9 is an interesting one, and this is about catching the wave to bed. You know, have you ever been watching TV and you're starting to get drowsy and you start to fall asleep on the lounge, but you push through to finish the program and then you go to bed and lie there for 45 minutes trying to get to sleep? The reason for that is that you have a rhythm. So not only do you have your circadian rhythm, but you have another rhythm called your ultradian, which is a 90-minute rhythm. And this is the reason why you're not off in meetings that go for more than 60 minutes. Because at the start of this rhythm, you're really alert. Towards the end, you're drowsy. Now, when that rhythm comes on and that drowsiness of a nighttime, catch that wave to bed. When you're feeling drowsy, that's the time to turn off the TV, shut stuff down, go to bed. Because catching that rhythm into bed will help you fall asleep really, really fast. And the final tip is about power napping. What we know is power naps are great. They rejuvenate you, they make you feel good. But don't sleep for too long. Because if you've ever woken up for a power nap feeling disorientated, it's like, where am I? What am I doing? Because you've slept too long and woken up in deep sleep. You don't want to do that. Keep your power nap short and punchy, like 20 minutes. So you've got all the information on how you can make recovery a habit and also sleep better. The point you are at now is to set your action plan. I want you to do an action plan for each part. Now, with this is I want you to have an action plan around 3 areas. The first one is, what are you going to do? The problem is when we set goals, we often set vague stuff like sleep better, relax more, stress less, exercise more. What I want is exact behaviors. So the what part is, well, I'm going to go to bed at 10 o'clock every night. I'm going to cut out screens after 9 o'clock. I'm going to have a fan in the room to keep me cool. The exact behaviors. Then I want you to think about the why. Like, why do you want to do that behavior? Well, I'm not as frustrated with my family when I've had good sleep, or I can think clearer at work, or I'm less stressed when I get good sleep. And then the last bit is the how. The environment. How do you set things up to help you? Well, you know what? I'm going to buy an alarm clock so I don't have to take my phone into bed and look at it before I go to bed. Or I'm going to exercise by laying my clothes out the night before so it's really easy to get up and do the exercise. That last part, the how, is about the environment. Now, what we've included is examples of action plans in these 3 areas around sleep, around meditation, around recovery. So start to look at those and use them as a guide, but this is the crucial piece, is to get really clear about what you're going to do, why you're going to do it, and how you're going to do it. So that is part A of Module 1. Good luck with the recovery and good luck with the sleep. If you invest in these 2, you will not turn back.